Hey, I was reading this book right here. It's called Cracking the Learning Code. Cracking the Learning Code is a book that blew my mind. And what it's talking about is basically how people learn. Now, it's different ways to learn different things. So I'm about to break it down a little bit in this video. It might get a little scientific and you don't understand it, but just grasp the concept. So, what it start out by saying is we have three different brains. We got the reptilian brain, which is the lizard brain. We have the mammal brain, which is the emotional brain, right? And then we have the human brain, which is more like thinking, right? So the lizard brain is responsible for the things that we're not aware of, our blood pumping, our heart beating, breathing. That's the lizard brain. Then the mammal brain is responsible for things that we really can't control, like our emotions, getting mad, getting sad, our sexual arousals, and things like that. That's our mammal brain. And then the human brain is what's responsible for thinking, creating PowerPoint presentations and things like that. That's our human brain, the thinking part. Right? Now, that's the foundation of it. The brain structure is the foundation. Now we got our senses. And we have five different senses that you know, right? So all of these different senses is the things that connects to our brain, right? So think about think about a lemon, for example. Think about everything about a lemon, how it tastes, how it smells, what it feels like, what it sounds like when you squeeze it into a jar of water, right? Think about all of the sounds. Now, think about the emotional parts of the lemon, all right? When you taste it, the look on your face when you taste the lemon. Think about the look on somebody else's face when they taste the lemon. What is they feeling? So these is all of our senses. Now, all of our senses tells our brain what how to respond, right? Now, stay with me now. Whenever these senses start getting stimulated, is is um, is things that's being released, and the things that's being released is chemicals in our brain, and these chemicals is dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. I think that's how you say it. But just when you learning something new, all of these chemicals is being released. So these are the same chemicals that's being released whenever you do drugs or whenever you getting drunk and things like that. These are the exact same chemicals. So when you learning something new and it's pleasurable to you, these chemicals are being released. So when these chemicals are released, they are producing something in your brain called neurons, and they making the neurons fire, right? Now, this is the scientific part. So these neurons is cells in your brain, right? These cells have something called dendrites attached to them. And these dendrites, they attach to other dendrites and synapses, right? So this picture right here is a picture of a neuron. It's basically a cell, right? And the dendrites, they are formed whenever these chemicals in your brain are stimulated, right? So these dendrites, they percolating, they firing off, and they being created by new ones, right? So the thing with this that brings it all together is you can't learn something new if it's not connected to a dendrite, right? To a former cell. So this is the visual for it. So you have a neuron, then you have a dendrite, then you got a synapse, right? That's how it's structure. So the neuron we're gonna say is one of our senses, which is feelings. So the feelings, whenever you get your first kiss, it stimulates your mind, right? You can remember your first kiss, right? So these neurons is being stimulated and it's connecting to feelings. And then those feelings is producing synapses that's connected to sex, right? So if you never had feeling, well then sex would be irrelevant, right? And then you could do this for every feeling, every emotion, everything you learn, right? So we're gonna go into moving. So when you move, you learn how to move by crawling, right? You rolling around and then you crawling and things like that, right? So then you go into walking. After you walk, then you learn to run. But you would never learn how to run if it wasn't for your basic human instincts of crawling, right? This is the learning process. You learned how to crawl and it excited you. So then you learned how to walk, and that excited you too. Now you running around doing half marathons and breaking world records for running. And that stimulates your mind. It releases all this dopamine and serotonin and things that feel good, right? So this is the learning process. So a good way to look at this is a tree. Think about a tree. A tree grows from what it already has, right? So your neurons is what you already have. So you can't grow new neurons. You have to add on to them, right? You can't produce an apple out of thin air. An apple has to be produced from the fruit. I mean, from the branches, right? So that's how this thing is set up. The neuron, it would be the trunk of the tree. And then your dendrites would be the branches of the tree. And off of those branches is synapses, which would be the fruit that the tree bears, right? So you can't learn something new out of thin air. It has to be connected to something, to preferably something that's meaningful to you. So whenever you learning a new skill, what's meaningful? Like we can get down to it like, yeah, I need some money, and that's meaningful. But why do you need the money? You gotta dig deeper, dig deeper. What's the meaning? What's really meaningful to you? It's my family because I used to live in a car and I don't never want to live in a car again. So I need a big old house and be financially secure. So those are the meanings, right? So when you find a meaning, then you can actually learn some new things. It's kind of like speaking. I'm speaking to you right now. If I came in and started talking about neurons and dendrites and things like that, you would not understand. But if I connect it to something meaningful, like entrepreneurship and real estate, now you finding it meaningful. So speaking the English language, that's the first step. You have to be able to speak to understand entrepreneurship. Now, now that you understand entrepreneurship, buy low, sell high, cash flow, and things like that, once you understand these concepts, now you can get into the next one, which is real estate. It's the same exact thing, but just different terminology. So that's how we learn in the world today. And we didn't understand this way back when. So that's why you go into a school and they try to cram information into your brain and it don't resonate with you because it has no meaning. If it doesn't have meaning, you're just gonna remember it for the test and forget it. How much of the stuff do you actually remember that you took a test on? And that's because it was not meaningful to you. So when you find meaning, then you can actually learn something.